The attack on Speaker Pelosi's husband comes at a time when threats against members of Congress have increased. As someone who served in Congress, what's your reaction to the changing political environment? And in your travels on your RV trip across the country, did you hear from people that gives you concern about the rise of political violence or the potential for political violence in this country?
Well, what was really interesting is I did hear from people, and there were people who thought that January 6th was completely justified. And I think that this is a really frightening development. There's a large swaths of the country where people are extremely angry. I think the public should understand that most members of Congress, apart from the leadership and, a handful of members who are, were part of the impeachment process and serve on the January 6th committee, do not have individual security. They are allowed to use some of their representational allowance to pay for that security. But as a member of Congress, you're on your own. And when I think back over the last decade or so, I look to the beginnings of the Tea Party movement, where there were more active threats against members of Congress, and that's escalated to the point that we are now. And, it's so sad. I mean, what has happened with Paul Pelosi and the Pelosi family. This is a very, very dangerous time. And at the same time, you don't want to scare people so much that you scare them out of voting.
Mm-hmm. And Frank, we want to be clear, the United States Capitol Police says it's working to stop thousands of potential threats. But how do you think they're monitoring those threats, and how do they stop them?
It's a monumental challenge, particularly for a grossly understaffed, grossly underfunded police department. We learned a lot of things about the Capitol Police Department in the aftermath of January 6th, and one of those was that they could literally double in size to do their job, and they still might not have enough resources. So this is an all-hands-on-deck situation, with the recent bulletin released by FBI and DHS singling out, among other groups, lawmakers as increasingly exposed during the midterm elections for violence. And so I'd propose some real quick fixes while the Capitol Police are getting up to speed on funding and bodies, which would be things like emergency funding to hire as contractors retired Secret Service agents, retired diplomatic security service agents, already trained. They know how to do the job. They can start traveling quickly with lawmakers. We also need funding to go to local police departments. Could be grant money from DOJ saying, look, at the residences of certain high-profile lawmakers, you're going to get overtime pay and extra duty pay to have a marked presence at those residences. And then lastly, we've got to improve the partnership between social media platforms who are radicalizing people like David DePape and the FBI and DHS. It's got to get better. It's got to get better fast.